Hello, everybody, and welcome in. I apologize for this unfocused camera, but this is a special episode of the Cron and Yodi Show. Thank you for tuning in. As you can see, this is an episode we like to call the Big Ole Baseball Show. Today, we're going to be talking about all things Major League Baseball. Cron, I'm excited to be here with you, buddy. How'd your day go today? I know you had some working to do.
It was wild. It was a wild day.
Yes, sir.
Not as wild of a day as it was for the Oakland Athletics every day of the offseason.
Oh, my goodness. We're going to get into that, man. But before we do all that, I'd like to thank everybody for checking in. We've got actually a few live ad reads to do today. Goodness gracious, this camera is killing me right now. But
by a webcam,
yeah, we've got some live ad reads. We've got some video submissions from some fans. We're excited to get into it. We already have more viewers right now than we have probably our entire time as streamers. My goodness, man. Cron, I'm just going to kind of lay out the episode, but we're going to go from West Coast to East Coast. We're going to start with the AL West and the NL West. We're going to give our predictions, talk a little bit about what each team has done, maybe some of the major rule changes in baseball, and just get into a lot of those things. But is there anything on your mind that you want to get off your chest?
No, not that I can think of. I was going to slander the Yankees, but it's too early in the show for that.
I know, dude. What's going on here?
This man slanders me for not having a webcam, and then his webcam can't even focus.
And then I spent $70 on my own webcam just for it to have focus issues. Goodness gracious.
It's all right. I spent a cool G on this computer.
Yeah, I know. There it is. Here we go.
Hey, yo.
Clearly now. Brain is gone, baby. All right, Cron. So I guess we just kind of get right into it, dude. We start talking about the West. Let's get into it. So we've got our predictions here. I know there's going to be people that are definitely not happy with what we've got, but
and we're here to tell you we do not care.
We do not care. So obviously in the NL West, the Dodgers, dude, they spent $290 million this year. The league has spent more money this year than it ever has. So I think it was $3 billion in salaries just this year. So there's no time like now to regret not playing baseball at a high level. But anyways, the Dodgers are right there at the top of the list. They're spending $290 million. That revenue tax threshold goes up, and they're making the most of it. They're not afraid to spend money. So obviously we've got to have them at the top of the NL West. Got the Padres with that clean. I like how that brown and yellow just kind of pops off the screen right there. I'm loving it. And then we both got the Giants, Rockies, and D-backs rounding out the bottom of the NL West. So, Cron, we see KB, right? Chris Bryant, he goes from San Francisco to the Rockies. It's kind of a weird deal. He gets himself 7 years, however many $1 million to go play for a team that's probably never going to win in the rest of his career. So he decides to waste it there. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know if a baseball player, I know he's won a World Series already, but what do you think of KB choosing Colorado?
I think Chris Bryant's chasing a money bag. I do not think that he had anything on his mind other than money. But I did bring up in a podcast in the previous episodes that maybe this was a stint at him to, inflate his numbers in that mile-high atmosphere, and just go ahead and inflate his home run numbers. A team that might need a third baseman or a left fielder, because he can play in the outfield too. He's a multi-positional player. Or he can go be a really, really, really good team's DH for the playoff run. You know what I'm saying? So he might go inflate his numbers at this place, and maybe at the deadline someone's like, oh, we'll take a shot at him. And then they
Yeah.
trade for him, and now he's not on the Rockies anymore. And then the Rockies just wasted all that money.
So before we go any further, y'all see that we're wearing beanies on the live stream indoors.
Indoors.
You're probably confused. This is just tradition at this point, honestly. I think we did this for our very first live stream that we
Chronic
ever did.
Media is a beanie cast.
It is a beanie cast, but I will let you know if you see sweat dripping from my face, this is the reason. I'm not nervous or anything. It's just this stupid beanie bringing my body heat up by 10 degrees. But yeah, dude, I think you're right about this whole Mile High situation. We talked about it a lot on the last podcast, how this dude's probably going to hit 275, 30 bombs, have a great season. But like you said, that he's probably going to get traded. I don't know that he ever gets traded. I think he maybe spends the rest of his career in Colorado, unless it comes down to like maybe age 34, 35 season, and he's doing real well. I think he's like 29 or 30 at this point. He started late. That's another thing we can talk about is this whole tampering issue. It doesn't seem to have been fixed at all when it comes to what the CBA was doing. We spent 99 days in a lockout, and neither side could get done anything to fix the tampering issue. It's ridiculous. But Chris Bryant, obviously, he signs his first like major contract now he's with the Rockies. Good for him, but man, it sucks that it came at his age 29 season, because we're going to see guys like Acuna cash out real soon because they got called up when they were young studs. So it's interesting to see. Any more thoughts on the NL West? I mean, we saw the Dodgers lose a big arm in Kenley Jansen, and they've had some trouble in the bullpen in the offseason. They could never get it done no matter how much money they spend. They just can't.
Bro, I'm telling you right
finish
now,
the playoffs.
they don't care about Kenley Jansen. They'll just put Andrew Haney as their close to go.
Well, not only did they lose Kenley Jansen, they lose another big arm, and you are probably a little skeptical of this one, but Joe Kelly goes to Chicago. Joe Kelly. We're going to talk about
it right there. He can't throw a changeup. That's my boy right there.
You're a little bit skeptical of his changeup, but he goes to Chicago, and we'll talk about Chicago later in the show about how absolutely stacked they are going into this upcoming season. But yeah, as far as money goes, man, I don't think I've ever seen so much money go to the players this offseason. There is the inflation factor, right? When you think about it, obviously money's going to go up, or it should go up about 7% this year, because that's about what inflation's at. However, we saw a lot more money than that go out to the players. And especially in this last week, if anyone's confused as to why there's just a cluster of signings going on right now, that's because teams and players are bypassing arbitration. But that number's only going to go up. We still have dudes like Aaron Judge who haven't signed, who are probably going to be due $30 million a year coming up very soon. So that's another thing to watch out for money-wise. And yeah, something to think about in that NL West is the stud Mike Clevenger comes back for the San Diego Padres after missing, 18 months with a shoulder or a Tommy John injury.
Yeah,
so that's another boost. And then they still have Blake Snell, the dude whose name I forgot for days upon end. Couldn't figure it out. But they got Blake Snell, still got Yu Darvish, or do they?
I'm pretty sure they still got you. Yeah, Yu's nasty.
Yu's nasty. So that's a team to watch out for to take that NL West crown as well. Obviously, we know about the Luke Voit trade. Didn't get much in return. The Yankees got a lefty. I think he's a lefty. Throws about 100 miles an hour. No big deal. But they got a big power bat that they needed. Now, we also saw the rule change for the universal DH. Kron, talk about how you don't love that, because this is a little – I don't love that you don't love this, but let's hear your reasoning.
It's not that I don't love it. I've already told you in previous episodes, I love the fact that it opens up the market for people like a Jorge Soler and a Kyle Schwarber and stuff like that. Maybe people who just want to hit and they're not that good in the field. So you get people like that, even Albert Pujols. That guy would not have a job for a team that doesn't have a DH. He's old, he's out of shape, and he kind of just sits there and hits nukes. That's all he's good for anymore. But there's pitchers. What I've tried to explain to him is there's pitchers that can actually hit. Like Jacob DeGrom batted what, like 450 for the longest time last season. It was wild. And like
Those
people like Syndergaard and Greinke and people like that, they can all hit. Now they don't get a
those
chance
are
to do
but
that.
those are so
And then here we go. Here we go. We gotta then put them in the lineup. Then put them in the
yeah, just put them
lineup.
in the lineup.
Then
That's
put them
but
in the
what am I wrong?
lineup.
You just if you are so worried about pitchers hitting and you want to see Bartolo Colon hit more home runs, he's not going to. He's retired. But
He
guys
keeps
like him
saying
hit more home
Bartolo
runs.
Colon, who's been retired for 3-4 years now.
Here's the thing. I have felt so bad for National League fans for so long, especially considering the fact that they had to watch in their 9-hole spot. And recently, guys like Joe Madden have been putting their pitchers in the 8-hole spot. But at the bottom of the lineup, it's almost always an out, right? I think collectively pitchers hit under 100. And so when you bring in a guy out of the bullpen that you need 2-3 innings out of as well, those guys are even worse at hitting. So I felt really bad for National League fans having to watch Yu Darvish hit. If you've ever seen a Yu Darvish at bat, you've seen someone crap their pants on multiple occasions in the box.
Have you ever seen Yu Darvish at bat when he was on the Rangers? You saw a lot of nukes.
I wouldn't say nukes, but it's just, I love baseball. Thinking outside of the box now. I'm not one of those like originalist fans who thinks everything has to be the way that Abner Doubleday envisioned it back in 1886 or whenever he invented the game of baseball in some random field in the middle of nowhere. I think this game should continue to expand and grow and be different in certain ways. And we'll talk about another rule that I absolutely can't stand, and that's this ghost runner rule that we implemented. But we'll get to that in a second. But I think, and here's something people don't know: in the 1970s, right? The MLB, or rather the National League, was one vote away from implementing this DH rule. That's 50 years ago. This universal DH almost became a thing. And it was one mistaken vote against was the reason why we had 50 more years of just pure torture for National League Baseball fans. And yes, pure torture is the correct term. So I think it was just about time for this to happen. It was unfortunate that it had to happen during a lockout for 99 days, but I think it's good for baseball. I know we tested it out a couple of years ago. It opened up a lot of spots. It's going to get guys a lot more money. It's going to open up another entire spot on the roster. So it's good. And I like it for coaches as well because it allows for more strategy to be used, more pinch hitters and things of that nature. And speaking of the DH, so the MLB also implemented a rule that it's not named this, but it is just a de facto Shohei Ohtani rule, where now if your pitcher is also hitting in the DH spot, if you pull him out of the game, he stays in that DH spot for the entirety of the game. So now you saw AL MVP Shohei Ohtani getting at-bats 4 out of 5 days. Now you're going to see him getting at-bats every single day. So imagine what that's going to do to inflate his numbers. But speaking of the AL West, Kron and I have our predictions here.
Like to point out in the chat up there, the Padres bullpen is a huge problem that is limiting their success. That is exactly why we have them at second and not first.
Yeah, exactly. And the same goes for the Dodgers as well. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see. Throughout, I think the best pitching staff in the entire NL West is probably going to have to go to San Francisco, which was a big reason why they overachieved last year by many metrics.
Disrespecting the Angels, bro.
Oh yeah, I know. So
and
this
then
is where
disrespecting the team that's not even on here.
We're going to talk about that. So for the people listening to the audio only, after this is wrapped up, the live stream is wrapped up. By the way, if you're listening on any of our audio streams after we have already recorded this live, make sure that you tune into our live streams because we have graphics available for you that explain our thought process and show you everything that we're illustrating to you through the audio stream. But Karan, we have a huge disparity here, and we're going to have to talk quite a bit about this because I think this is our biggest disparity between all of our predictions. You have the Angels going number 1. Now they add a big arm in Noah Syndergaard. They finally have a bona fide ace. This is a dude that I forgot about, right? He was signed before the lockout even began. And I don't know the exact terms of his deal. I know Angels fans are probably all over that, but it's a big pickup for them. I think he was cheaper than he would have been if he wasn't coming off of a surgery, but he's coming back and he's ready to go. He's
I
ready to make
believe
the
they also
Angels.
signed him to a 1-year prove it deal as well. So he's looking to get himself a contract extension.
Yeah, and don't so when you're looking at teams that might overachieve, look to teams that have a bunch of savvy veterans or guys who have been injured the previous year on these 1-year prove it deals, because those guys tend to outperform and have their outlier season on that contract year, especially going into free agency. Not just a platform year for arbitration, but going into their free agency year, they outperform any expectations. So you're right. Noah Syndergaard as a bona fide ace is great, but they also lost some depth when it comes to their pitching staff. They lost Dylan Bundy, but they do bring in a stud from Atlanta, Will Smith. So a guy that's been known to shut down the guys across town in the Los Angeles Dodgers in the playoffs. So that's a big pickup for them as well. They get Mike Trout coming back in a healthy year. They get Shohei Ohtani presumably in a fully healthy year. This team's going to be outstanding. I just don't see them being number one. Kron, what's your thought process behind these rankings here? Because having Astros at number 2, and I know you said you wanted to put the Astros below the Mariners too. So what's your holdup on the Astros?
That Will Smith plays for the Atlanta Braves. Will Smith is not on the Angels.
Are you serious?
They added Michael Lorenzen, but they did not add Will Smith.
Have I been operating on this lie?
You have been trying to manifest this. So go ahead and fix
I was
that
thinking.
one real quick.
I was thinking about the Fresh Prince American actor, rapper, and film producer.
That's exactly what we were getting at right there.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
That's the guy I was thinking about. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're right.
Getting rid of Bundy is a good reason to put the Angels in the one spot.
Here's where I was mixed up. I'm going to let you all know right now. This is something that you should be aware of before you even listen to any of our podcasts. Karan and I we're like kind of smart about a lot of things, but we're not really smart about one thing. So I'm pretty stupid. I looked at his Wikipedia page and I saw this sentence. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim selected Smith in the 7th round of the 2008 Major League Baseball draft. And I said, boom, he's on the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim for the 2022 season. So I'm sorry for all the Braves fans out there that
probably just flipped out and thought
just
they lost
their pants
closer.
And lost their guts. But that's, yeah, my bad. So never mind. I guess that just solidifies my NL East picks that are coming up. Fact that I have the Braves as number 1, but we'll talk about that. So, okay. So Angels number 1, they don't have a great bullpen. They don't have a great pitching staff. They have 4. They have a good lineup. What's the deal here? Why don't you like the Astros?
I just don't think that I think Carlos Correa leaving hurts them a lot more than people want it to or want to think that it'll hurt them, because that's a big bat and great defense that you're losing out of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to point out here that you've got the Mariners over them, who are going to probably – I don't doubt that the Mariners could be better than the Angels.
They will be.
But I think the Mariners need a little bit of time to gel because they've got a lot of new people inside that clubhouse.
No, here's my reasoning behind the Mariners. Okay, so last year this team was very close to making the playoffs. Right? Like up until about 3/4 of the way through the season, a lot of people forget that they were in the first place in this AL West division. Now, it wasn't good for a while. The Astros had a lot of struggles early on. I'm not sure what to attribute that to. I think it was just mostly offensive struggles, some pitching injuries, maybe things of that nature. But this Mariners team added a big arm in Robbie Ray. So now they have their bona fide ace, something that they were missing, right? And then you got Justice Sheffield in your rotation, who has been a breakout star since coming over from New York via the trade. And then they also added 2 huge power bats, one of them being Eugenio Suarez, who almost led the league, if he didn't lead the league in home runs just a couple of years ago. So they've added a lot of key, more consistent at bats than they had before to a team that was already really good. And now they're looking at prospect Jared Kelenic coming up and making an impact throughout the entire season. I think the Mariners are firm in that number 2 spot, and I think they do something similar to last year where they start out on top, they get off to a hot start, they got a lot of youth, a lot of energy. They hold that spot for like halfway through the season. And then after the All-Star break, this team kind of tapers off a little bit. But with the expansion of the playoffs to 12 teams now, I think this team finally this year like breaks their 20-year playoff drought, which is the longest playoff drought in the entire MLB. But Kron, I have a question for you.
What is that?
Does the signing of Justin Verlander, is that a good thing or a bad thing for the Astros? Because this is a 1-year deal. Now, I obviously getting him back into the rotation is a great thing, and I have it being a good thing, obviously because he's on a prove it deal. But what if he goes out there and shoves, right? He's coming off an injury. He was a little bit of a reduced rate. But what if he goes out there and absolutely shoves, and then he's gone from Houston? Do you think that the whole 1-year situation is like a big no-no or a big mistake?
I think it's a very risky deal considering what you just said with the amount of money that they're spending on him based off of what he did before he destroyed his arm. So it's one of those things. I mean, it's like kind of like you said, if he goes out there and he sucks, then oh well, you just wasted money for a year. And if he goes out there and he balls out, then he's probably going to get another maybe 1-2 year deal because he's getting way up there in age.
So here's a specific contract. So might even be a bigger mistake, right? They gave him a $25 million salary for 2022. Correct. And then he's got the same number as a player option for 2023. But that player option is conditioned on the fact that he pitches 130 or more innings, which is kind of easy for him, if you ask me. If he returns back to A status, he's going to be at that 130 innings or more. But I think if he goes out there and shoves, and if he does get to 130 or more innings, then he's going to go out there and get a Scherzer deal, which is like a 2-year, $80 million deal that probably the Astros won't be able to afford.
No shot.
Interesting. I have the Angels at 3 just for the pitching depth.
What's really interesting is the fact that we have the MLB free agency's biggest spenders not even on this list.
Yeah, so that was on me.
Interesting.
Again, one of those dumb mistakes that I made. So slotted right in there between 3 and 4 for the both of us are the Texas Rangers. Here's the reason why I think, and I discussed this last episode, why I think the Rangers are really going to regret their deal with Corey Seager is because the Rangers tried to big ball everyone and basically say, here you go, we're setting the market. Now Correa is going to be more expensive. Correa entering into free agency wanted a 10-year deal. That's what Seager got at $27.5 million. I don't know. I'm just going to throw a random number out there. At about $27.5 million over 10 years. And the market did not follow at all. So now they're kind of just stuck with a guy who's been subpar defensively, really good bat, right? And he's going to do well in Texas, but they're kind of stuck at this point. And I think the defensive value of Corey Seager doesn't add anything. So that's why I have them at number 4. Offensively, they're going to be a stellar team. Adolis Garcia in the outfield. But once again, those 2 guys up the middle, which, by the way, you have both of them till they're like 38. They're not adding anything to your pitching depth. So sorry, but you're at 4. A's, you're dead last. You spend $0 in the offseason.
I beg to differ on the Marcus Semien not adding anything. He literally just won a Gold Glove.
No, I'm not saying Marcus Semien doesn't add anything defensively. I said Corey Seager doesn't. That was a huge concern for a lot of teams, and the reason why they didn't want to shovel out that money, and the reason why he didn't get maybe as much annually as Correa did, though those contracts are like completely different. But he's been like pretty poor defensively. If you look at the metrics, if you look at the eye test, he's been average, but looking at the metrics, he's just kind of bleh. So He doesn't really add anything defensively. He's a pop bat, but they need a lot more work. They don't have much as far as
Personally, to me, the only reason I have them down that low is because of their pitching. I mean, they went out and signed John Gray. Cool. He's old.
I mean, he's your ace at this point, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He's in his 30s now. He's been performing really well in Colorado, which says a lot
Yeah,
for a
that shows
pitcher,
a lot to your location and your pitching,
but
but
he's not getting into he's getting into just as friendly of a hitter ballpark in Texas because throughout the year, it's going to be 100 degrees and the air is thin in Texas as well. So it's different, but it's really not. It's still a hitter's ballpark. So interesting. And it doesn't really do anything for this team. So that's what I think there. And then
now
so talking about
the
A's,
athletics.
yeah,
Yeah, we got
interesting
some.
decision.
If you're an athletics fan, you might want to bounce real quick
I
because you are
think
not going to like anything that we're about to say.
so. If you're living in the city of Las Vegas, start buying all of the athletics gear that you can now. Anything that doesn't have the words Oakland on it or the word Oakland on it, buy it up now because that team is moving to Las Vegas in the very near future. I know the city of Oakland and the A's were in talks about a new stadium. I know they were close, but they're not going to make any money this year, Kron. We were talking
No shot.
about Matt Chapman and that big trade with the Jays, and they got Christian Pache from Atlanta. They've gotten really young.
I
But we were
won that
talking
one.
about this. Like, even though you don't want your teams to be so focused on the money, you still have to have one eye on the money. And if you're the A's and you haven't made anything for the past, how many years has it been now since they've probably been in the red? So, and now you ship away the number one guy that everyone wants to go watch and the number two guy that everyone wants to go watch. Nobody's showing up to the ballpark unless you make the playoffs. You're not good enough to make the playoffs.
Not only that,
It's
but now they're
confusing.
trying to ship. Now they're trying to ship off Sean Manaea.
Yeah, Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea. So they're number one and number two in the rotation.
Yeah,
So
They-
every player
this is a
giving you-
new level of tank. I have never seen anything quite like this.
Well, okay, so I see it every year in the AL East just with the Orioles existing. However, you're right. I've never seen a team just actively ship
The
off.
Orioles are just stuck where they're at because they can't get anybody. The Oakland Athletics voluntarily made themselves like this.
Yep. Yeah, I know. And I'm just wondering, like, what's the benefit of doing this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm really not sure what their thought process is on what they're trying to achieve.
Right. Are you just trying to make your ballpark barren and not fun to watch? Nobody's staying up until.
If you wanted to move that bad, just tell us. Just say that.
Mm-hmm. Well, recently with all this litigation going on concerning relocation, aka the Los Angeles Rams, teams are a little bit more hesitant to move around like they have been. So we'll see how that goes. It's interesting. The lease is up soon. I think we're going to see Oakland become Las Vegas.
Again, in a different sport.
Right.
Following the leader.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Kron, so we've got some sponsors now. I've heard they want us to do some live ad reads. They just faxed this over to my fax machine not too long ago. We've got
big fax.
Yeah, so let's do some live reads.
Take it away.
They told me to do this in this silly voice. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. Are you scared of spending money? Do you sometimes forget that you're a millionaire? Afraid of looking at your bank account and saying $2 billion instead of $2.025 billion? You may be exhibiting signs and symptoms of a serious condition, despite affecting tens of people just like you every year. This condition has detrimental effects, including but not limited to ruining the game of baseball. There's no need to worry. Not all hope is lost. We have a tried and true method of treating this phenomenon, often referred to as Cashman's disease. Here at the Los Angeles Dodgers front office, we will teach you how to pull money out of cracks and crevices you've never heard of. We can even pull money out of thin air. We have had wonderful results evidenced by our most recent clients, the New York Mets. So come on down to the Los Angeles Dodgers front office, where the money flows like tumbleweeds. Wow, our first sponsor, dude.
Big
That was
facts. I would
insane.
like to. I would like to know what exactly you meant by pulling money out of cracks and crevices.
Is this ASMR, dude? What are we doing? Whispering into a mic?
Welcome
I can
back
hear
to
you
my
just
channel.
perfectly fine. You know, you can talk like a normal human being, and I'd be okay with that.
No, that's not possible.
All right. Volume up, buddy. So cracks and crevices, I think you know exactly what I mean by that.
I don't.
Cracks, the first thing that pops in your mind when you think of cracks.
Okay, that's concerning. Next topic, please.
What about crevices?
Next
We're
topic.
playing a
please.
word association game. First thing you think of when you hear the word cracks.
Next topic, please.
All right. As your therapist, I am obligated to finish this exercise with you, so we're going to need you to answer here. So once again, cracks.
Cracks, the Yankees batting lineup. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. Crevices.
The Yankees pitching rotation.
Okay, cool. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but all right.
Well, neither. Next topic, please.
All right, so
All righty. Look at the chat popping
yeah, the
off.
chat. Wow. First response was booty hole. We're gonna show that on the screen here. Josh
Hey,
Yoder.
do
That's
you know
Papa
that guy?
Yoder, man. That's Papa Yoder. He
That's
said
Papa Yodi.
Papa Yodi said booty hole. So he said what everyone was too afraid to say. That is a man that baseball needs. We need to put him at the GM position. All right, so we will be moving on to our next topic
please.
here shortly. Stick with us, and we will be right back. All right, and we are back, and we're ready to get into the NL Central and the AL Central. So into the armpit of America we go. So we're first going to start out with, I think this is the NL Central, Kron. So we've got our predictions here. As you can see, if you're watching in on the live stream, Kron's got the Cardinals. I've got the Cardinals finishing first. We both got the Brewers at 2.
Quick math.
We both got the Cubbies at 3, the Reds at 4, Pirates at 5. I think this was by far probably our easiest division to predict. And I think it's going to end up exactly this way. Now, the only thing that I doubt here is putting the Brewers at 2 just because of the pitching staff and the wild card that is Christian Yelich. But and they just picked up too. They picked up in a trade. Now, I could be wrong here again, dude. They shipped away JBJ, or was that the Royals?
Yeah, they shipped away Jackie Bradley.
Okay.
We got him back, and we gave them Hunter Renfroe.
Hunter Renfroe. So the biggest mistake in Red Sox history. I'm sure that's 100% correct, and there's no other bigger mistake in Red Sox history that I can think of. None that come to mind.
Interesting.
So they get a big bat, but they give away extremely good defensive numbers.
And then they try to replace that defensive number by signing Andrew McCutchen.
Interesting. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's another thing that Philly lost this offseason.
Exactly.
Besides any chance of winning their division, not due to their own inactivity, but because of others' activity, I guess. Just better activity. But anyways, yeah, I think the Cardinals are a really good team here, one of the best, if not the best defensive team in baseball, and they have a really good lineup. And by the way, dude, did you see that shredder? You know the shredder on MLB Network?
Yeah, but I didn't see it.
Rankings. So the shredder this year has been pretty bad. So every year it's pretty good. You don't really question the shredder. There's maybe 1 or 2 spots. And by the way, the shredder is just a machine that MLB Network puts a bunch of numbers into, and then he compiles lists of the best players at each position. And Nolan Arenado, coming off of a 300-plus season, 30-plus bombs, incredible slugging percentage, and a Gold Glove, was ranked in the bottom half of the top 10.
Yeah, that's
I disagree.
absolutely wild.
Yeah, I disagree.
Nolan
He's the best
Arenado
third
is the
baseman in
best third
baseball.
baseball in baseball.
Correct.
Followed closely by Matt Chapman.
And I believe the Shredder also had Josh Donaldson at number 1.
Which is absolutely
insane. We'll get into Josh Donaldson a little bit later, but the Cardinals
the
have
Shredder took an L on that one.
Yeah, and another thing is Tyler O'Neill. So it went through the best left fielders in baseball. And goodness, I'm trying to remember who they put as number 1. I want to say Jesse Winker. And then at number 2 was Joey Gallo. And all the way down the list at number 7, number 8 was Tyler O'Neill.
Disrespectful.
Tyler O'Neill is also the best at his position in baseball. So they have 2 of the best players at their positions in baseball. They got Waino. They've got
Yachty and Waino is a battery for one final season. Both together.
They've got the worst super mega baseball character in history, Paul Goldschmidt at first base, but otherwise in real life, where nerds don't typically reside, nerds like myself.
Fantastic first baseman.
He is a fantastic first baseman, adds a lot of value defensively, like we already said, and offensively. Obviously, this team's pretty much a shoe-in to win here, barring any major collapse, major injuries, things like that. The Brewers still have Josh Hader, still have Corbin Burns, as far as I'm aware. They still have Christian Yelich. They have a great lineup. They've got a great pitching staff. I don't see any reason why they should get surpassed by the Cubs, but we can talk a little bit about the Cubs' semi-big offseason if you want. Getting Japanese import Seiya Suzuki, as Matt Vasgersian would say on MLB The Show.
Who in his first game that I've kept track of today went 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, well,
welcome
it's spring
to
training. Yeah, welcome to America. But let's put this comment up there just to sit there for a few minutes. Gallo sucks, says Josh Yoder. It's correct. Going back to our Shredder thing.
Pappy Yoder.
But talking more about the Cubbies, they did have a pretty big offseason. They get their bona fide ace in Marcus Stroman. Whatever opinions you have about Stroman, especially as a Yankee fan, I understand there can be some strong opinions about Stroman. He's a stud. He's perennially a 2.7 to 3.2 pitcher every year, has a ton of strikeouts. Not many issues. Gets hit around a little bit from time to time, but he's their ace. Despite what you think about 85-mile-an-hour fastball Kyle Hendricks. But and they also got Andrelton Simmons. They signed again. Yeah, they got a good pickup defensively in Andrelton Simmons.
A steal of a pickup in Andrelton Simmons.
Yep, 1 year, $6 million.
A top defensive shortstop in baseball, you can just start picking up for $6 million.
Well, yeah, and he's getting a little bit older. I think he's in his 30s now, so maybe he starts to fall off a little bit. There's a ton of variables that go into the Cubs being successful this season. This is a team that I could see slip up to number 2, but they need help above them, and they also need to help themselves out a lot and exceed expectations. It's not really a wild card team, but it's a flexible team when it comes to the standings. The Reds
made some interesting decisions this offseason.
Yeah, so they decide to trade away a lot of guys, but keep Luis Castillo. Interesting decision. They give away, like we said.
To say the least, they trade away their entire rotation. We'll keep him. The guy we wanted to trade all year.
A guy that you're not really going to build your entire franchise around, just considering his relatively higher age. Interesting decision for the Reds. And then the Pirates, I think that goes without saying that they're one of the worst teams in baseball. They're going to compete with the Diamondbacks and the Orioles down there at the bottom feeder part of the standings where the crap lays. So
the Reds still have some things to be excited about. Like they have Jonathan India, who's a really good player in the infield, but that just the decision making that they had this offseason was very, very interesting. Yep. The Pirates, if you're a fan of the Pirates, once again, we do not care. They are terrible.
Let's look at this Reds depth chart. I want to see what they got here because this
The
is
Pirates have a
interesting.
long ways to go before they are anywhere close to contending
Yeah, so
for
they've got
not the number one pick.
their 4 and 5 is pretty weak. Vladimir Gutierrez, never heard of him. Raver San Martin, never heard of him.
Never
Um,
heard of them.
so former New York Yankee Justin Wilson, I forgot about this, is one of their relief pitchers, and they also picked up Luis Sessa last year via trade. That's an interesting pickup as well. Tyler Stevenson behind the plate, Joey Votto at first, obviously. Mike Moustakas at third, Kyle Farmer at short, Indy at second, Nick Senzel in the outfield, Tommy Pham, and
Oh,
Colin
yeah, I
Morancis
forgot.
is
They did just pick up Tommy Pham, left
yeah.
field.
So interesting. Tommy Pham doesn't really have a bat. It's kind of been I feel like every time he goes up to the plate, he's got a giant hole in the middle of his bat, but he's been all right. It's come and go for him, but yeah, I don't see any reason
They,
for this.
I bet they felt like losing Castellanos from left field. They were probably like, we need somebody that people know, someone that's just going to bring, because they know they're going to be bad. So
Sure.
they're like, kind of like what the A's should have done, and just trying to bring a name in that will get people to come watch
Yeah, and they've kind of got a youth movement going along, and I don't think Castellanos fits that at all.
at all.
They a couple years ago they were threatening to be one of the best teams in the NL until this thing we like to call the All-Star game, the All-Star break swung around, and after that they no longer had two MVP favorites. So they've kind of fallen off since then. So go Reds, you're the fourth best team in your division.
Pirates,
Um,
we'll see you. We'll see you in 20 years.
yeah, Pirates ain't much to talk about. I don't even
Brian
know
Hayes.
what to talk about when it comes to the Pirates. I think they're one of those bottom three spending teams as well. But speaking of the Pirates, we do need to get this guy on, Tarek Brock, first base coach for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That would be nice. So Tarek, if you're
Very
listening
nice.
in,
Better than nice.
please come on the show, please. But yeah, dude, the Central really doesn't. I don't know about you, but every time I think about the Central, I have nothing to get excited about. Like there's just something about Midwest baseball that doesn't excite me much, even though I spent almost my entire baseball career in the Midwest. Like,
I get excited about the Cards and that defense, but that's about it.
yeah, but that's the thing. The best team in the Central is a defensive centered team that it's not really exciting. And it could go to the fact that maybe the Central doesn't get marketed as well as the East Coast and the West Coast do, just because the big markets aren't in the Central, like maybe Chicago, but then you have to share that market with another team between the Cubs and the White Sox. So um, it could be a reason why it's really boring to me to think about the Central, but maybe that changes with the universal DH. So we'll
Yeah.
see. So moving on to the AL, I think this one we had very similar, yet we had the same exact predictions here as well. So
Again.
yeah, again. So White Sox at number one. This team got so much better, dude. I'm excited for the White Sox, mostly because this past season this past postseason, we saw Chicago get rocking for that series against the Houston Astros. So I love to see stuff like that. I think Chicago deserves it. They've got a stellar pitching staff, even though they lost their ace, and they bolstered that bullpen depth as well. That's nice to see. Got the Twins at number two. Sadness as Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela are shipped to the Twins, and they're on the same infield as Carlos Correa. And then we got the Tigers at three. I've been watching this team, Kron, in spring training, this Tigers team, and they can rake, dude. Akil Baddoo, Spencer Torkelson over there at first base. That dude, he can hit. I think he's one of
Yeah.
the first prospects that has had 80 like raw power in a long time for the Tigers. And just to let y'all know, like scouts have a rating scale out of 80, and they basically scale each player based on the eye test, metrics, whatever. They scale each player on a scale of 80. Don't ask me why. It's probably the dumbest thing. But if you are an 80 out of 80 power hitter, right now. So they have two different values. They have current value out of 80, future value out of 80. This guy Torkelson was an 80 current value and 80 future value
Means he hits
on
bombs.
raw power. Yeah. And when you have 80, they give each scout kind of like this, I guess, reference to go off of. So you think about it in your head, you're like, how many home runs do you think this guy would hit if he got called up right now? And then you say however many you think. This guy's going to hit 20 home runs. This guy's going to hit 40, blah, blah, blah. And then there's this category that just exceeds all other categories, and it's 50-plus home runs. That's where Spencer Torkelson is right now. His scouts think he's so good power-wise that called up right now, which he's going to be the starter for the Tigers come this season, he's going to hit 50 home runs, according to his scouts. He's going to be a rookie this year. We'll see how long he stays up. We'll see if this tampering bullcrap keeps happening, but I think Spencer Torkelson's going to be good. And then the rest of the lineup, Jamer Candelario, I think he's a stud as well. So this team's good. They're a wild card. I could see them slipping into that number 2 spot just out of nowhere. They're really going to need their aces to step up. Casey Mize, I know he led all rookies in quality starts last year. He's a beast as well. He's kind of been getting rocked in spring training, but you know what they say about spring training. Like, it's spring training. So
get it out early.
Right, exactly. So that's what she said.
Okay. Royals.
And then on to the Royals. Yeah, this team's bad, and so are the Guardians.
Yeah,
Good point. A team that rebrands typically sucks the next year. The only reason they rebrand is because they know they're in the middle of a rebuild. So cool with the Guardians. Yeah, dude, that whole off.
I mean, what did the Royals do? They added Zach Greinke. Cool.
Yeah, Zach Greinke goes back to where he first started. I mean, the guy, when he first started with the Royals, I'd like to see this now, a side-by-side view. This guy, when he first started with the Royals, I think he's like 5'9", 5'10". He was throwing 95, 96 miles an hour for the Royals at first, and now this dude can barely touch 87, 88. So
yeah,
that's
and he
pretty
has a curveball that hits 58, 59. It's
exactly that little eephus he's got. Yeah, I don't know. The Royals are kind of interesting as well. They got a lot of young studs too. I think this is really just a developmental year for them. See where their guys are at. You know, see
they
if
went and added an arm that'll bring in some people to watch.
Yep. So that'll be interesting. So those are our AL and NL Central predictions. Kind of the most boring part of the day. So yeah, there's that. Ron, we sent out some inquiries, and we actually got some good content. We sent out some inquiries to a bunch of different people. We're like, hey, if you got any video submissions showing us how excited you are for the upcoming season, send them in, let us know. You can be included on our podcast. Unfortunately, we only got one video submission. So we're just going to have to put this person in
fantastic.
So this is interesting. We got a video submission. Let's see how excited this person is for baseball. Excited to see it.
Yeah.
Top 10 most embarrassing things that have ever happened to me in my entire life just happened right there. Papa Yoda's got the moves, though. Hey, Papa Yoda, if you're still in this chat, we're going to need you to get on every episode and show us. Let's just replay that video.
Yeah.
All right, pick your top 3 moments from that entire video. By the way, our podcast listeners right now, super confused. Go back in. Look at this. What in the actual crap, Papa Yoder? All right, so top 3 moments in that entire video. I've got number 3. Let's start from 3. Number 3 is this little maneuver that he gave us right there.
I like that. Swimming. I like that 1940s, 50s surf movement right there.
For real.
I mean, that's hard to beat.
Where's that at on your top 3?
That's number 3 for me.
That's number 3. Okay. Number 2 for me will probably be the floss, the attempt at the floss. I don't know if I wanted to cringe, laugh, or cry, but
Yeah,
there was
Papa
that
Papa Yoder was in there playing his fork knife battle royale. You know what I'm
fork
saying?
knife. And then number 1 for me is the point at the end, just letting us know that that was for you, Granio Media. That was
Yeah.
for you. Dude, he was super excited
No,
about the baseball season. I
number
don't think
2 for me is going to be the attempt at the floss. But number 1 for me is 100% going to be your beloved dog, Annie, sitting there staring at his knees and looking him up and down, trying to figure out what exactly is going on in this moment in time.
All right, sorry, podcast family. We're going to replay this video, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at Annie throughout this video. Keep a close
Exactly.
eye on that dog.
Yes. I've never seen.
My favorite part is when she backs up a little bit. She backs up. She's like, "Oh, he's hitting that. He's kind of hitting that."
Yeah,
Back
he's
at first,
kinda,
like, what's going
he's
on?
kind of killing
Oh,
that.
he's kind of
Loki.
getting it.
I've never seen a dog with more genuine confusion in my life than what just happened. My eyes have
I'll
just
let you
been bestowed
know
upon.
that dog lives in a state of perpetual confusion and forces others to live in a state of confusion at the things she decides to do. But yeah, so that's our NL Central and AL Central picks. Just wrapping that up. What do we get out of that? If there's one thing to take away from that entire discussion, I think I have my opinion. What's your opinion out of that entire discussion?
Mm. The Pirates are very bad, and the Guardians are very bad.
Yep. And Papa Yoder does not know how to dance unless he has copious amounts of alcohol in his system. So
That
we
looked
are
like
going
JP hitting the ball.
We're going to wrap that up. Thank you for listening to the NL Central and AL Central predictions. We're going to take a quick break, get ready to go into the East, my favorite part. All right, we will be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going into the East now. The best two divisions in all of baseball, the AL East and the NL East. We're going to get into that. But first, we got another live read, Kron. This one's great. I think this one has a lot of educational value to it. I think it's really going to speak to our viewers. Just really think about what we're about to say. And my headphones just came out, so hold on. Don't say anything, Kron. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. All right. Thank you.
Headphones just did what?
They came out. Thank you for listening in once again. So yeah, just really focus in on this ad. There's a lot of great things here. This is more of a public service announcement, but we'll see. So, all right. Have you ever thought of where, when? A recent report says for every time there's an up, there must be another around. Where you are for it cannot be said, that for why is then how. If you've ever had these problems, fax the special Wetzel group, and they'll point in the wrong direction for how when goes the ball of all squares. Use promo code Wiedermeyer, that is WEIDERMEYER, Wiedermeyer, for special details on pointing What is the Gray Gills Special Wetzel Group for the widest of narrows? And Kron, just to clarify,
I mean, I've never been more inspired.
well, honestly, dude, I think so. I just got that live read today. It was faxed to me via cell phone. I think the kids call it text messages nowadays. And the first time I read it, I think I might have urinated a little. I went into convulsions. I was laying on the ground, but it was like religious. It was like a religious experience for me. And I think my favorite part of this entire thing is just this thought. I'm just going to repeat this for everyone. So, where you are for, it cannot be said that for why is then how. And I think that's beautiful. So,
I mean,
I think
that's
it's beautiful.
honestly got me ready to run through a brick wall.
And I think we honestly need to put that.
I think we honestly need to move on.
Where you are for, where it cannot be. Yeah, you're right. Let's move on. The joke gets old after a while, all right? Jesus Christ. Get over it. So here we go. NL East. NL East brought to you by Special Wetzel Group. We've got, now do I still have that stupid background on? Goodness gracious. This is our second biggest difference, our second biggest disparity. So we've got the NL East. So getting into it, Kron, you've got the Mets winning it all. I mean, that's just kind of the easy pick. So, like, congrats, I guess. I've got the Braves winning it because that's the bold pick because I've got, like, balls of steel, I guess.
Right.
Like, there's no reason to pick the Braves. Like, it's not like they won the World Series last year.
If you've ever watched him pitch, you would put emphasis on the balls part.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Thanks for bringing back terrible memories of my past. So we've got our only difference here actually is the Mets and Braves. We swapped them. So you've got the Mets, obviously the team that spent a crap ton of money. They visited the Los Angeles front office rehab institute this offseason, decided to spend money. They weren't afraid. They might reap the rewards of it. What's your favorite thing about the Mets this year? Which pickup out of all the pickups do you think is going to set them apart the most?
I mean, their pitching rotation pickups are what's going to help them the most.
So what would you say?
What
was that?
Max Scherzer, Bassett. Those are two guys that are going to help them out tremendously. They got Mark Hanna that they added in the outfield. The team's ready to go. They're ready to go now, and it's going to be
where are they going?
To the top of their division.
Really?
That's where they're going.
Remember when we said Remember when we said the same thing last year?
Yeah, remember when I didn't care?
Because they lost Javi Baez.
Okay. They lost Javi Baez, a.k.a. swinging a curveball 10 minutes before it gets to the plate.
Here's why the Braves are going to win the division. Their name is not the New York Mets. I think that's the number one reason why they are going to win the division. When was the last time the Mets won the division? 2002?
I have no idea.
Like 2013, maybe when they went to the World Series, but no, dude, I think just a side note, just a small little detail that nobody needs to worry about. But yeah, sure, okay, they have a good team. Fine, whatever. They're second place team. Braves are better.
I want to point out this is a very, very salty Yankees fan above me that they did not get Max Scherzer and the other New York team got him.
Okay, so I'm not so upset about the fact that he went to the Mets. Now, that kind of plays into my analysis of my anger here. I'm upset that he said 2 years ago that New York, just generally New York, was off of his list. It was not a place he was willing to go. Media's too much, blah, 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 whatever his reasoning was. He said no to New York and then proceeds. Yeah, but like, come on. Even if the Yankees would have spent that money on him or offered that money to him, the guy's not going to the Yankees.
And, we've talked about this, though. You and I personally have talked about it. If you grow up not liking the Yankees, you're not going to play for them ever.
Yeah. There's always two different attitudes when it comes to the offseason and the Yankees signing players. And it's become more prevalent nowadays than it used to, because the Yankees used to actually spend more money than anyone else, and now they're about at the same level as these top teams. So if you're a player like Freddie Freeman, Max Scherzer, and those kind of guys that don't seem to like the New York Yankees, Marcus Stroman, also, for instance, not only are you going to avoid at all costs signing with the Yankees, you're going to actively seek out teams that Yankees fans hate. Think about it. The Dodgers, Yankees fans hate the Dodgers. The Mets, Yankees fans hate the Mets. You think there's any coincidence that Stroman went to the Mets and Freeman went to the Dodgers and Scherzer went to the Mets when they did? In the same
The Cubs
offseason that there
too.
was speculation that the Yankees were going to get them. It's no
Stroman to
coincidence.
the Cubs too, but I mean everyone hates the Cubs unless you're a Cubs fan.
Right, right. But I was speaking about like last year and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the deal. The Mets add a lot of key pieces. Hopefully they get a full year of, for their sake, they get a full year of healthy Jacob deGrom, because when he's at his best, he is the most dominant pitcher probably in MLB history. Now, I don't say that lightly, because there is Roger Clemens, seven-time Cy Young winner.
Seven Young, what do you mean?
Yeah, there's Greg Maddux.
Carl Malone.
There's all these guys that were absolutely dominant. Pedro Martinez. Jacob deGrom is not only up there with all those guys at his best, he's also the best of all of them. Even Clayton Kershaw at his best as well. So if they get a full season of that, watch out for them. He's going to be a sub-2 ERA. He actually finished last year, or was below a 1 ERA for a lot of last year, at least through 13 starts.
Great with pitcher, a lot of losses.
Yeah. So, interesting. Yeah, I don't think the Braves fall off at all. I think they replace 90% of Freeman's production with
a younger version of himself.
Right. And this Braves team kind of struggled, squeaked in the playoffs, won a World Series, lost a lot of their key pieces, though Jock Peterson's still out there to be had. But
no, Jock Peterson is not. Jock Peterson is a giant.
No freaking way. Am I seriously this behind on all this free agency
Jock
stuff?
Peterson's been a giant for 2 weeks now.
You're kidding me.
Jocktober's in San Fran.
Jock Peterson is no longer out there to be had. So they lost a lot of their key pieces. Jorge Soler is obviously gone. Now, why did I think Jock was still out there?
You're probably thinking of Conforto, because I don't think he's signed anywhere yet.
Michael Conforto. Yeah, I think
because I think the Mets considered him expendable after they went and got Canna, so they were like, "Whatever, just go do whatever you want."
Right, but I think he might come back on a small deal with the Mets. I think there's some talks about that he only has 2 weeks left to sign. So
I do also believe that the Mets either got Marte or Escobar. I think it was Eduardo Escobar that they got for 2 or 3 years, I think, to play maybe for them. I can't remember. If it was Marte, then he was playing in the outfield. They're really trying to shore up that outfield.
Yeah, Mets major additions. Let's look at them, because I feel like they made so many moves and spent so much money this offseason. All right, so we got a lot of arbitration avoidance. Pete Alonso avoids. Yeah, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Seth Lugo in the bullpen, Lucchesi, starting pitcher. Let's see. A lot of guys. They got Chasen Shreve as well. Don't underplay his potential impact. Adam Ottavino? You're kidding me?
I don't think they do.
How did he pitch last year for your Red Sox? I remember it being a little bit of a struggle at times.
Yeah, he pitched all right.
Another huge addition for the Mets as well. Chris Bassett. Yeah, another marketable player, dude.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning and why I have them up there, because they've got a rotation now that is nothing to be messed with.
Crazy.
You keep a healthy DeGrom all year, you keep a healthy Scherzer all year, and you got Bassett to be their third. That's wild.
Gesellman became a free agent. Where did he go? Yeah, they did get Marte to go play center field for him. That's super athletic guy to play center field for him. So that's interesting. Gesellman, it says he's still on the roster for the Mets. So we'll see.
I don't know where Escobar went, but I know he went somewhere for a
Yeah,
long
Eduardo
time.
Escobar, he's playing for the Mets as well. He's playing third base
So
for
they
'em.
got both of them. That's wild.
Yeah. So good team.
The
Braves are
Mets
still in
made
the
a
lead.
lot of moves this last year. They were not the Yankees. They were not scared to spend money.
Yep. Another underrated, interesting but underrated move for the Phillies is the signing of Nick Castellanos. So this guy
And
just
Kyle Schwarber.
basically he got the most average contract I've ever seen. Just 20 million for 5 years. 20 mil, 20 mil, 20 mil, 20 mil, 20 mil. And I don't know that he has any bonuses or anything like that. He's just got a fully guaranteed 20 mil every year contract. But that's a replacement for Andrew McCutchen. Good offensive replacement. It's a guy that could win an MVP trophy just based on his offense alone. But he's not going to play a very good outfield. So
If
it's
the
interesting.
Phillies are smart, and I have
Sure, no.
my reasonable doubts to believe that they are, they would put Schwarby at left field, Castellanos at right field, and let Bryce play center. But you could flip flop Castellanos or Schwarber either way. But
Well, let's look at this Phillies depth chart because I don't think putting
because those are bats you have to keep in the lineup, especially if
True.
there's something going on that needs to be apologized about. Castellanos is probably going 850 feet dead center.
Well, I think on any given day, one of those two guys is going to be your DH.
Probably mostly Schwarber.
Yeah, and I mean the depth chart on Fangraphs has Schwarber at DH.
Well, I
They've got
forget that
so
they got Hoskins as well, so that's probably going to be their left fielder, and then Castellanos will play right field, and Schwarby will probably DH.
yeah, sure. And don't
But
forget about
Hoskins can also play first, right?
who's that? Hoskins, Reese.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably not sure really. Um, I'm very underwhelmed with the moves that Philadelphia made this offseason.
They
Just thinking
added
about it
some
now.
power in their bats, but that's about it.
Yeah, and their pitching staff just kind of remains the same. Like you still have Wheeler and Nola at the top of your rotation. Ranger Suarez, he's kind of a wild card there. Eflin Gibson. Gibson is going to be what he's going to be. He's going to be your 4.5 ERA guy probably every year. So that's interesting. And looking through this depth chart, obviously got JT behind the plate. Reese plays first. Reese is a first baseman. And you got Camargo behind him. Yeah, Camargo is going to be your third baseman. Didi at shortstop. Gene Segura still at second base. I mean, this team is basically the same exact team we saw last year, except for the outfield. They've got Schwarber. This is what the MLB depth chart has: Schwarber in left, Matt Vierling in center field, Bryce in right, Castellanos as your DH, backed up by Harper and Schwarber. So I think those guys just stay on a 3-man rotation in the outfield. Though I think you want to minimize the amount of days that Bryce Harper's out of your outfield because that's one of the best defensive players in baseball, one of the best arms in baseball. You don't really want to, take him out of his element, but I don't know. They don't add much on defense between Schwarber and Castellanos, but
No.
who
But
knows?
they do
We'll
add
see what happens
offense.
there.
But you got
Yep.
to stop the other team from scoring as well.
Yeah, and they will do that with the top of their rotation. This is a team, if they sneak into the playoffs and you're only using a 3-man rotation, will be interesting. Now, I'm unsure of what's going on as far as the 1 and 2 seeds go. So I believe the proposal was that the 1 seed gets to choose their opponent in the next round. So once you get to the divisional series, which obviously the 1 and 2 seeds would have a bye because now you're adding 2 extra teams to the playoff field or an extra team to the playoff, 2 extra teams to the playoff field, if I have that right.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My guy
It's a
here is the one who's in sports. Have the CBA stuff down pat. It's all
Well,
beyond
obviously,
mine.
I don't have it down pat, but there's an expansion of the playoffs, and I know there were talks thrown around about maybe allowing one of the teams, maybe the top seeded team, to choose their opponent. I don't know if the Phillies are a team that you want to choose as being one of your opponents, just considering that top 3. Who knows what Ranger Suarez is going to do this year, but having Wheeler and Nola to face in your first 2 games. It might be a little bit scary if they pitch to their potential. So that's interesting. And at that 3 spot, I think they do snag a playoff spot, at least one of the 3 wild cards that are
The only
available.
reason that the Phillies are not lower on my list than they are is because of how bad those other 2 teams are.
Let's talk about the Marlins, dude. I just saw something interesting, and I completely forgot about this. The Rays refused, decided not to re-sign Joey Wendell, one of the best utility men in baseball, and he's playing for the Miami Marlins this
Along
season.
with World Series MVP Jorge Soler.
Yeah. And right now he's your backup third baseman behind Brian Anderson. I don't know. I think that's probably a platoon type of thing.
The
This team's
Marlins still
good.
have a long ways to go, but they're getting there.
No, this team's good, dude. Let's actually go through this list of their players, because this team might surpass Washington for that 4 spot. You've got Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Trevor Rogers. Okay, pitching staff. Probably their downfall. Their bullpen as well. It's okay. They got a dude named Steven Okert. That's interesting. Let's see. Got Jacob Stallings behind the plate, one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. So that's pretty cool.
Winner.
Gold Glove winner, former Pittsburgh Pirate. So this dude's just bouncing around
The bad teams.
all the different developmental teams, as I like to call them, teams that are literally just feeder teams for other teams. They're glorified minor league teams. Garrett Cooper at first base. I remember in the COVID year, Garrett Cooper was pretty good. Remember when the Marlins were actually performing pretty well? Garrett
Cooper is a beast.
Yeah, Garrett Cooper was a big part of that. So we'll see if he can get back to that again. As was mentioned, Jorge Soler. This dude, he's not going to make the playoffs, but he's getting his bag. He's getting his money. He's a big. He's got that ring, man. He doesn't have to worry about anything.
3 years, I think, 36 million, maybe, or 30 million. I'm not sure, but
I couldn't tell you, but it's probably
not only did he get a ring, but he got World Series MVP for the amount of nukes that he hit in the postseason.
Correct. Probably the hardest hit ball I've ever seen in an
followed
entire.
by one of the coldest bat flips I've ever seen.
Correct. Yeah. He's born in 92. What does that put him at? 30 years old. Yeah. So maybe his last big contract, maybe plays himself into one more. So a lot of reason for him, especially if what you mentioned, a 3-year deal, especially if he has 3 years to figure it out and show people that he's just as good in a lineup that doesn't have as much protection. That's cool there. Center field, Jesus Sanchez, Brian De La Cruz. Don't know who those guys are. So that's interesting. Watch out for Avisel Garcia. He's playing right field for the Marlins. Pretty good bat as well. He played a lot for the Brewers, I believe was his former team. And before that, he was with Chicago. That's where he really became known. So, yeah, that's the NL East. That's the first half of the best 2 divisions in baseball. We got some chats. Let's answer some chats here. Yeah, so as is mentioned, Soler signed with Miami.
Correcto.
Yeah, that's a big bat. Man, anything else? I think Miami's another one of those teams that you have to watch out for potentially moving. I don't think it'll happen. That's another team.
The city of Miami would riot.
I don't think Miami would riot. I think the last thing on people's mind in Miami is Marlins baseball. So I think they'll be okay. I think if they moved out and it started circulating in the newspaper, people would probably be like, "We had a baseball team." That's about the level of acknowledgement that town, that city has. I remember earlier when I asked you the first word that comes to mind when you hear the word cracks.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the city of Miami for me.
Bakersfield, California for me.
Bakersfield, California, meth capital of the world. Shout out to the Baco, the Big B.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for me.
Any last words on the NL East?
The Phillies suck. Next
Phillies suck.
topic, please.
Phillies suck. Next topic. All right, so we're moving on to the AL East. This is the best, most competitive division in baseball,
Big
and
fact.
this one hurt for me
No cat
because
detected.
I had to stay somewhat objective, even though Cron refused to do so. He still has a good reason to put his team where he did. I would have no reason to put my team in the same spot as Cron did, but here we go. Here's our predictions. So Cron's obviously, as a Red Sox fan, got Boston at number 1. I've got Tampa Bay at number 1. They do lose some key pieces, especially on the pitching staff. They were in on everyone and got no one. They signed their guy to a big deal. So they've got something to build around. But I think they're the most consistent team in this division. And I think there's only 2 possible outcomes for this Rays team. 88 wins and a wild card berth, and they don't do anything in the playoffs. Or 100 wins, they win the division easily, and they don't do anything in the playoffs.
Do me a favor.
Then, what's up?
Bring that chat up, the most recent one. Bring it up, and we're going to discuss this right now.
All right. Spencer Johnson.
This is my brother.
Series, okay.
Okay, so what he fails to understand is, as we previously stated, this is the best division in baseball. This is the most competitive division in baseball besides the Orioles.
Yeah.
This team is going to put 4 teams into the playoffs, or this division is going to put 4 teams in the playoffs. It does not matter what order they're in. They're going to the playoffs. So no shot you're sitting here telling me we can't be serious when the Blue Jays are absolute fanukes. They're fanukes.
I'm going to tell you this right now. If there's anything that I've ever been, it's serious. Yeah. All right?
All right.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Get good at baseball.
Yeah.
All right. So we got.
That was kind of rough.
So Cron's got Red Sox at first base. I'm just kidding. I don't mean to be mean. Please don't log out. We need your views.
He's never seen you play baseball.
I've never seen you once play baseball.
Hey, Spencer, you know what you can probably do that he can't? Throw a strike.
All right. Moving on. I've got the Rays in first place. Cron's got the Red Sox in first place because obviously he's got the Rays in second, Yankees in third, Jays in fourth. As he said, all 4 of these teams are going to make the playoffs. Those are going to be your 3 wildcard teams right there, Rays, Yankees, Jays. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. I also think Yankees, Red Sox, Jays are going to be the 3 wildcard teams. I don't see any other division pushing anyone through. Maybe Minnesota. The thing
I'm
that
getting colluded on in my own house, bro.
Here's the thing about the Red Sox is that they're good, and they just got Trevor Story. That's a big signing.
Yeah.
A guy that's going to move to second base. Interesting.
Shores up the center of our infield.
He's not good defensively.
The covers and the corners we have are good for years.
Yes. Devi has shored up his defensive mistakes.
Yes, he made a lot of errors, but he's figured it out.
And now he's one of the better defensive third basemen in baseball. So I don't love talking about the Red Sox like this, but sometimes you have to when the truth hurts. Yeah. You know, you have to do it.
Good doesn't win the division.
Good. Okay. So by AL East standards, they're good, which is the highest standard in all of baseball. Is Babe Ruth the Red Sox ace this year? Yes.
I don't know what we're going to do. You know what I'm saying? Eovaldi's going to be our ace because Chris Sale can't stop getting hurt. And we just let Eduardo Rodriguez walk to the Tigers, so that's sick.
I heard this discussion, Crown. I think we should have it. This question here. So now my answer is a little different, saying what I've seen recently in spring training. Once again, though, just a qualifier, spring training. It's spring training. Luis Severino's gotten hit around a little bit, but I heard this question presented the other day, and it's a very good question. So collectively, the top two in each rotation between the Yankees and the Red Sox. Number one for the Red Sox is Chris Sale. Number two is Eovaldi. Put those two guys, match them up against number one Garrett Cole, number two Luis Severino. Who would you take in that battle? And that's a very interesting discussion because at their best, I don't think anyone's better than Cole and Severino. But right now, who are you taking?
Right now, I'm gonna have to take my guys. Sale and barring the injuries, when Chris Sale is in the rotation, he's absolutely disgusting. He's hard to hit. His slider's disgusting. His fastball comes out from that weird angle. You have no idea how to hit it until you do, and then you rake him. But it's kind of just like Garrett Cole. He throws that high cheese fastball until somebody hits it, and then it shakes them all up. And then,
yeah. And I mean, the second you pick up any sort of leak or any sort of tipping, Chris Sale's done for. His stuff, it's surprising, but it's not. You know now after like 7-8 seasons what he's got, where he's coming from. He hasn't really developed his arsenal into anything other than fastball, slider, changeup. He's coming off the injury. And what is
exactly
this? Owns. Yes, that's the thing that gets me the most. So if you're playing in a series, obviously you're going to pick. If it's a series between the Yankees and the Red Sox, the Yankees sort of kind of have recently owned Chris Sale, but it's been the other way around with Eovaldi. So Eovaldi could be on the worst stretch of his entire career and still shut down the Yankees for 7 innings. That's what gets me. Meanwhile, Garrett Cole, on the other hand,
he has not owned the Red
had
Sox.
some bad experience with the Red Sox. And if you know anything about Yankees fans, 90% of your value is derived from how you play against the Red Sox. Exactly. So that isn't great for him. But I think at their best, we've seen Garrett Cole at his best. Spider tag or no spider tag, who knows? We've seen Luis Severino at his best, the ace of the American League. So putting those two guys together against Eovaldi, who his best, he's probably already reached it. He doesn't have any ceiling beyond what he's already got, what he's already showed. Chris Sale at his best, right up there with Sevy for the ace of the NL or the AL. I think it's the closest call, and I'm not going to give you an answer. So how about that?
I'm just gonna. I mean, we're both probably rocking with our guys. I mean, we have to. We're wearing the caps. We're rocking with our squad.
But putting your cap, covering up your logos, it's still a difficult decision. So
it is. Well, here's a question: is for whatever reason our first game with Chris Sale and Garrett Cole, is that in a dome?
No, considering neither team plays in a dome.
If it was in a dome,
Cron's got this theory that he hasn't backed up statistically that Garrett Cole is only valuable when he's pitching in a dome, which would explain his success in Houston, especially in the playoffs. But it wouldn't explain.
It's the eye test. That's what I did.
Yeah, it would also explain that one incredible outing that he had last year against the Tampa Bay Rays in Tampa Bay when they needed him the most. So you know what? Like maybe your intuition serves you well, but I don't know. It's the theory we'll have to back up statistically. Maybe we look at that next time. But speaking of next episode, so next episode, Ethan Cronister, as you can see on the screen, Daddy Cron is coming into town. He's going to be in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and we are going to do a live stream. So this is live. Garrett Cole owns spring training. Yes, he does. So it's going to be live. He's going to be in person, and we're going to be in a professional studio recording an episode. So we don't really have many ideas right now, but I think, Cron, we're just going to talk about just random stuff. As you know, this podcast, we're going to talk about anything. I mean, we've talked about the war in Ukraine on this podcast, for crying out loud. This isn't just a sports podcast.
We've talked about penguins invading Monaco.
Yeah, right. And the pervasive role that Jim Carrey has in penguins invading. What was it? France? Did you say France?
No, Monaco.
Monaco. Oh, yeah. The country of Monaco off on the coast of France. This little tiny. Yeah. You're going to have to go watch our Anarchy episode for that one. No,
But
our next
hey,
episode will not be
yo,
about the best sport, college softball.
because then I would sit here and talk about the Oklahoma Sooners all day long, and he would get tired of hearing it.
So Kron's got this huge crush. If nobody's been in the news lately, Kron's got this crush on this Hawaiian chick from, well, I guess from Hawaii. This Hawaiian chick for the Lady Sooners, who just recently surpassed what many thought to be an unbreakable record set by another former Sooner, Lauren Chamberlain, with 98 home runs. She passed that, and then a week later passes the most home runs in a career across college baseball and softball. So that's great. But no, we're not going to talk about it. We might talk a little bit about it. It's going to be another super episode where we, talk about anything and everything under the sun. Maybe we get into softball a little bit. Well, we just see where it goes. We hope y'all will tune in. It's going to be streamed everywhere it is now. After this episode, if you want to go back and listen to your favorite parts, if you want to clip our episode, you have our full permission. If you have any desire to do that, just make sure you share it anywhere. Make sure you credit us. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I can just keep going. Spotify Podcast, iHeartRadio. We're on Facebook.
Can't forget about
Twitter.
that chat.
Literally everywhere you can get a podcast or video, we are there, except for like Daily Motion, Vimeo, things like that nobody's ever heard of. But we are on all major platforms. Tonight, we will be also streaming our video game session. We are playing NHL 21. It is the most toxic thing you've ever seen, right? If you think
you
about
ever want to hear Yoder and I not agree on something, just listen to us play that game. Keep in mind, I am not a hockey person at all. I go in there and I just play to have fun, and then I get screamed at for being 20 yards off sides from there, and I have no idea what I'm doing wrong.
Just get better at the game, and maybe we wouldn't yell at you.
Here we go. Okay? Here we go.
Maybe we wouldn't yell at you so much.
Alrighty.
But anyways, check that out. Check out all our other content. We are Cronyo Media, CRONYO Media. All your favorite platforms. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, literally anywhere. Kron, closing thoughts, dude. We need you to spark up a closing conversation.
You see that flag back there to your left, right? Whichever.
Cronyo Media flag?
Yeah, that one, like the same one that's right here.
Oh yeah, this one. By
closing
the way,
conversations. Oh, let's hear what you hear about.
No, I was just wondering, like, is this backwards on your screen? Like, which way am I pointing right now on your screen? Left or right?
You're pointing to your right.
Not to my. Okay. Cool. To my right or your right?
Your right. It'd be my left. Yeah, your right. Yeah, directionally challenged.
Whatever, dude. Whatever. Is this?
It's backwards. You're backwards.
It's backwards. Yeah. All right. Well, that's my worst angle, so that sucks.
Yeah.
What
exactly do you mean by that?
Yours is backwards on the screen. That's what she means. So our flags are backwards, but we've got some major developments coming up soon with this whole thing going on right here. This big old
guy right there. Yeah, that's
that guy right there. Guy. Yep. If
we're working on that one.
Yep. Just some more announcements. If anyone wants to create with us, let us know. Pitch your ideas to us. We'd love to have you on. We can distribute you to all channels. All you need to do is just have a Cronyo Media logo. That's it. Kron, is there any other closing conversation? Let's hear it.
The Phillies suck. The Orioles suck. The Royals suck. The Guardians suck. Who am I missing here? The A's are going to be historically bad, the likes of which we've never seen. And that's going to be absolutely fantastic to see how many losses they can compile. So
12
in a row per week somehow. So Nolan Arenado, platinum glove, gold glove. Matt Chapman, platinum glove, gold glove. I'm going to go out on a limb here, much to my dismay, and probably much to Yoder's dismay. I think Garrett Cole's winning the Cy Young in the AL this year.
Why is that to my dismay? Now, hold on. What about
Because
me
of
makes you think
this.
that's to my dismay?
Because of this right here, I just said that with a straight face and didn't say cat.
Okay.
I figured that would be
I
to
mean, I
your
would be
dismay.
happy if that happened. So I don't know why that's to my
I
dismay,
mean,
but
I mean,
let
a Red
bygones be
Sox fan
bygones.
just said that. You know what I'm saying? But
I have.
I think 100% Max Scherzer's winning the NL Cy Young. I'm telling you
Okay.
right now.
All right, and then your MVPs.
MVP NL, I gotta give it to Freddie. I
Okay.
think he's gonna. I think he'll be just fine.
Okay.
AL MVP is gonna be interesting because there's a lot of good players over there.
You got 5 seconds to make your pick.
Xander Bogaerts.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Here we go. I'm going to go through
You
mine.
gave
So
me
what did you
5
do?
seconds, so I said the first name.
So you said
I said
um,
platinum or gold glove. Just pick a gold glove.
Okay. Platinum glove winners. So we got platinum glove winner, we got MVPs, and we've got Cy Youngs,
Cy
right?
Youngs, yep.
All right, so I'll start with my MVP. So my MVP, Rougned Odor in the AL, in the AL or in the NL, Chris Taylor.
Okay.
My Cy Youngs. So my Cy Young in the NL is going to be Kyle Hendricks. In the
Okay.
AL, it's going to be Nestor Cortez Jr.
Okay.
We're looking at what is it? Platinum Glove Award winner now.
Oh yeah. Brett
Miguel
Gardner.
Andujar in the AL. In the NL, Platinum Glove winner. Platinum Glove winner. Let's
Go ahead
see.
and give me a Fernando Tatis.
Yeah, we got Fernando Tatis winning a Platinum Glove there. So yeah, those are my picks, dude.
Okay.
And I think if you're a betting type of person listening to the show, I think all those picks I just gave you,
Don't put a single fucking dollar on
200 bucks on every single one of them.
them. Don't do
I've got
that.
2 things to leave our crowd with here. Just a reminder that where you are for, it cannot be said that for why is then how. All right.
All righty.
And we leave you on this. See y'all later.